the No Fate channel, checking in. Jonathan here with a very special guest interview for you. We've got yet another installment of my 5-question interview series. Today's guest is an OG when it comes to YouTube. He is at the top of the top in the powerlifting universe, and he made basement home gyms great again. We have a YouTuber that's been doing it for over 10 years. He has 1,300 YouTube videos, 230,000 subscribers, and over 51 million total views. He is none other than Basement Brandon, probably the person best known in the home gym and powerlifting community, someone who has done so much for the community without asking very much in return. So of course, when I asked him to be a part of this interview series, he said yes. Lickety split, chop chop, lollipop. And guess what? We've got 5 questions. And exactly 5 questions. And no, they are not all home gym related. We're going to go deep. We're going to go deep in today's interview session. So stay tuned. First question. We're going way back.
Okay.
We're going way, way back.
Give it to me.
You played basketball at James Robinson Secondary School in Virginia for high school. And you even actually played basketball in college for 1 year. Pretty short career in college. Besides stress fractures, what were the other reasons that you ended your basketball career? And were you upset you weren't able to compete more in college? Especially, I know you are extremely competitive, so I'm curious about this.
That's an interesting question. It's funny because today I literally went and played basketball for the first time in probably about a decade. I grew up playing basketball all through high school. Obviously, it led to me playing in college for a D3 school. So let's get that out of the way because I'm a 6'4"-ish, now 6'3"-ish white guy with limited athletic ability, but I could beat people up. So setting screens and getting rebounds got me pretty far. But college experience for me was a lot different in terms of I was playing behind guys that were 6'8", 6'9". I was a freshman, we're on a team with some older classmen. I wasn't getting a lot of playing time, which I don't necessarily agree with, since in practice, I feel like I was putting up my fair share necessarily, but it just wasn't the case. But I just kind of fell out of love of basketball. Like in high school, it was cool. I enjoyed playing. I was obviously playing. I was doing well. In college, it was different because I think I was so structured in high school where I was really focused on, hey, I wanted to play college basketball. Wanted to make sure my grades were good enough. Wanted to make sure I wasn't going out doing anything that was going to get me in trouble and perhaps get me able to not play basketball. When I got to college and I wasn't playing and I started to get more into things that were more enjoyable at the time, which was drinking and doing stuff like that. It's just like, hey, you know what? Basketball just isn't as big of a priority for me right now. And then with my injuries, what I found is for the first time in probably about 6 or 7 years, I wasn't doing anything aerobic. I was basically forced to walk and not run for a couple of months. And I continued to lift. I continued to eat. And that's when I saw some of my best progress, even though I'd been in the gym for a while through sports. It was like, hey, you know what? If I cut out basketball, things get a lot better. So I just kind of started to fall more in love with lifting than I did with basketball. And I just never really turned back to it. Occasionally I do miss it. I miss, I thought, now that I'm older and a little bit wiser and a lot more bald, I think to myself that I was probably being a punk kid at the time, which I definitely was, and kind of a wish I could go back and maybe do it a different way. But at the end of the day, it's like, you can't have regrets of what you do, because even if you go back and change something, you might potentially have screwed up where you are now. And I'm super happy with where I am now in terms of career, in terms of YouTube, in terms of just lifting and not playing basketball. So something that I regret, but not something that I would change.
Now, when you left, was the coach like, here's your hat, what's your hurry? Or was the coach trying to get you back?
So it was an interesting thing. I think it was this coach's first year at the time of coaching, and he had a lot of people coming in also. So there was a lot of other freshmen in addition to some well-standing upperclassmen. And we actually ended up that first year having like 8 people leave the team after 1 year, which back then, this was like 1999, was a big deal. Like now with the transfer portals being open and everyone leaving, no big deal. And he was hurting at the time. He was like, you know what do we need to do? It was a mixture of things. Number one, I wasn't happy playing. I was hurt. And then also my grades were just not good anymore because I wasn't spending a lot of time in academics. or athletics, I guess. And I was just enjoying the college experience. So he was like, we can put a plan in place. We'll get your grades back up. We'll do what it takes. And by that time, I was mentally checked out. So I said, no, thanks. But it turned out well for him because he just got the head coaching job at Penn State. So good for him.
We're going to bring it back just a little bit closer to today, but over 7 years ago, yeah, we're still in the Wayback Machine. You let Matt Does Fitness. Now, for those of you who don't know, he is a UK powerlifter and YouTuber. And at the time, he had 5,000 YouTube subscribers. That's how I knew about Matt Does Fitness, is because you let him take over your channel. Just so for people, for reference, currently he has 2.2 million subscribers. He's got a best-selling book. He's got his own fitness app, online coaching, etc., etc., etc. Left his job as a teacher. Did you know he had the makings to kind of blow up on YouTube and become so successful across so many platforms?
Yeah.
And then follow-up question,
Sure.
just this is more selfish here. Would you ever let someone else take over your channel in the future, or has that ship sailed?
Sure. I'll answer that in a couple of ways. So number one with Matt, yes, I think so. So back then, YouTube was a little bit different in the way the algorithm worked, where, when you do collaborations, that's typically where you would get a bulk influx of subscribers. These days, it doesn't really matter, right? People subscribe to who they want to, or whatever is pushed to them in their feed, and whatever goes viral is how you basically get subs, and that's how you get the ball rolling. But at the time, Matt was someone who I watched, who I really enjoyed his channel. He was really funny, still really is. And it's been awesome to see the growth. And I actually did a lot. So like some other people that I can think of that come top of mind that now have much bigger followings than I do is like Nick Bear from Bear Nutrition. When I first met Nick, he was, I think, just getting into college and selling supplements like out of his parents' house. Even like Coop from Garage Gym Reviews. Like when I first sponsored Coop's video on my channel, I think he had like 20 to 30,000 subscribers, and now he has like 400,000, 500,000. Nate Figueroa, who did fitness, but now he's more known for like competitive eating. I think he's close to 1 million, if not already. So there's been a lot of people. So it's been really cool to interact with people. And the way I've viewed it and always kind of look at it and still do is like, if I can help somebody else who I think is making good content or deserves to be seen, I'm happy to do whatever I can within my ways of helping them get that exposure. For me these days, I'm still not opposed to it, but like if you take a look at my view count and subscriber rate, it's gone down dramatically since, probably its peak of 6 or 7 years ago, albeit a little bit of a outlier of the COVID years, but I'm always happy to help. It's just at this time, like I do so little content on my own as it is. It's like I need to make videos rather than have people make them for me. Then also, I think the return isn't as much for the people being spotlighted, if you will, as it was a couple of years ago.
Your channel used to focus very heavily on reviewing supplements. For those of you who don't know, some of his videos are still very, very popular when looking at like supplements that are scams or kind of fake with regards to promised gains that people are claiming that you're going to get. Can you discuss the transition of your channel kind of away from supplements and towards the powerlifting and basement gym lifestyle?
Sure. Yeah. So it's really been dictated by my own interests. So I'm very selfish. Like I got into YouTube for me and not for other people. And what I mean by that, I'll give you the too long, didn't read abridged version, is at the time when I first got onto YouTube, I was actually, or I have been, or had been a part of the bodybuilding.com forums dating back to like 1998, 1999, when they first got it started with other people like Lane Norton and stuff when he was still in college. I was in college, we're the same age. So getting to know some of those people on there. And at the time in the forums, one of, if not the only way to get really free supplements, because there was no Instagram, there was no really big YouTube presence, was you would basically go on these supplement forums within bodybuilding.com, and company reps would look for people to basically run the supplement and post a log and feedback and review in text format, because message boards were like the thing back then. And I was thinking to myself, how can I stand out? I want free stuff, right? Supplements are expensive. I got to get my glutamine, creatine, whey protein, my wax made for my quick digesting carbs, and all my good bro science stuff that I was not aware of back then. But I was like, how can I stand out? And I thought, hey, I'll take this video platform because no one's doing it on video, and I'll run a video log of it. So I started to do that. I started to get a lot of free stuff, which was great. I started to build a very small audience, but then at the time, the audience is like, all right, this is great, supplement information, cool, but what do you actually do for training? Or what does your nutrition look like? So like, you know what, maybe I'll make a video on that. And I started to do that. And then as I became more educated on supplementation and also a lot smarter people started to get on YouTube to make videos, I transitioned to more strength-based training videos. So like, here's workout videos and logs, and here's what I'm doing. Let me run this program and I'm going to log it up to a competition to show you what I'm doing. Kind of basic vlogging. At the time, there was like basically a crossroads where a lot of the YouTubers that were doing the same thing went into like the lifestyle vlogs, which was never really interesting to me. But I transitioned from a commercial gym to a home gym. And as part of my buying process, I'm trying to think of what I need to get, what barbells, whatever. So what did I do? I went on YouTube and searched about barbells. I noticed that there wasn't a lot of information on there. So I started making videos about that to give people feedback on what I was buying and some of the stuff that went into my process. And then that started to grow because people asked, what about this? And then companies started to say, hey, if we send you this, will you talk about it in a video? And that's kind of where we are right now.
We've got for over a year now, your social media and even your YouTube feed has seen some significant and in many ways, refreshing lack of affiliate plugs and promos. Just as a reference, I know I think it's like 2 years ago now, you would stop in the middle of your workouts and eat a protein bar that was sponsored by that protein bar, which I get it. You got to pay for the lights, you got to pay for the camera, but clearly, you've kind of tapered back a lot of that. What caused you to kind of step back from those sponsored videos and affiliate plugs? And does it frustrate you to see so much social media feed be kind of infected with this constant like need to plug?
So for full transparency, those watching, you and I have had this conversation before offline a little bit. But from my standpoint is I, surprisingly, this might surprise some people, I try to only take integrations that make sense for me and my viewers, meaning that like it has to fit or they have to just be outrageously where they're willing to throw a ton of money on it. And I can just kind of make a video that makes fun of them and they're not going to get mad at it. But for the most part, I try to only take on integrations that fit with me and seem more natural. And I think at the time when I was making more videos, it was easier to throw in like a 30-second spot for a protein bar in a 12, 15-minute video versus now when I'm only putting out maybe one video a week at most, which might be like 6 or 7 minutes, or it might be on like on a piece of equipment review. And then it has some weird sponsorship in it, which probably I don't like to take affiliate like paybacks or cutbacks in terms of like recurring revenue. If I'm going to do something, I'm like, hey, let's just do a one-shot deal, X amount. I don't want to be paid based off how much I sell, because then that would tempt me to say it's better than it is just because I want to sell it. And then sometimes I look at some of my videos that are more popular from like 8-10 years ago, and it's a good video, but in the middle of it, there's like an advertisement for something that's just like, why is this even here? So I've kind of taken that approach of if it makes sense, put it in. And even some of the stuff that I really believe in, like with some of the equipment affiliates, like I try not to push that because I watch a lot of people and I see a lot of people push stuff and it kind of rubs me the wrong way. Like I get why they do it, but I'm thinking that if I think that about other people, people are definitely thinking about me. So I try to just make it natural. If it makes sense, great. And then if it doesn't, I don't add it. At the end of the day, again, I do YouTube for fun. This is something that's still a hobby for me. I have a corporate job that pays my bills. So if YouTube pays me a little bit less than it did before, no big deal, because at the end of the day, I still like making videos.
So you've been making YouTube content for over a decade. And for some people, that's just so hard to fathom, especially where some people are just starting out. But you've seen it all, you've done it all, and your channel has changed and grown so much during that period. But most YouTubers, they start off with aspirations of going full time. Like that's the big like goal. We've seen Gluck kind of try to take on that role recently from Gluck's Gym. He does fantastic content. I'll link him in the description. Did you ever want to go full time?
Sure. Yeah. So going back to when I first started, it's interesting. You mentioned, some people might know me from the Campbell Fitness days. And when I first started YouTubing, it was not socially acceptable at all, like it is today. Like people didn't say, oh, I want to be on YouTube. Or if you told someone you had a YouTube channel, they'd be like, why? What's wrong with you? So that's why I used my middle name to start my other channel. Like I didn't tell people that I knew about it. And when my girlfriend at the time, who was now my wife, found my channel, she's like, you're living this whole secret life. I had no idea, just because it wasn't socially acceptable. Right. And plus, even back then, like I remember like the old days of AdSense where like if you made like $1 in one day, that was like a good day. And like you finally built up to that $100 where YouTube would send you an actual physical check. That was like, oh, I'm making money. I can't believe it. The money these days have gotten out of control, especially with like affiliate links, like YouTube. Out of all my income streams from my channel, my social media, YouTube is probably the lowest paying. So the affiliate ones pay so much more. So again, to your other questions, I get why people do it. But for me, I just I don't enjoy it enough where or I should say I enjoy it too much where I don't want to make it a job. Because right now, like if I don't make a video, no big deal. Right? My bills are still paid, my kids are still fed, I still have everything that I need. I'm comfortable, I have health insurance. Like if it turned into a job for me, I feel like I would have to push more affiliates. Again, nothing wrong with that. I'd also feel more inclined like I had to make content and I don't want to get to that point because right now when I make a video, it's because I want to make it, not because I have to make it. Um, and I don't blame some people for taking it full time because I think there's a lot of cool things that could come with that. And there's probably a lot more that I could do that I haven't done on my channel if I had more time to set to it. But I just don't see it as something that I want to do as a job. I like what I do for a normal job. And again, I'm happy right now with my situation where it's not a necessity. So
Well, listen, Brandon, you've been great. You were the first one to respond to all my requests. You've done so much in the powerlifting world, in the home gym world. And you know, one of the things you constantly do is just give of yourself to people that are either taking on their first powerlifting meet or just new to the YouTube space. And it is appreciated. And frankly, it's refreshing because for those of you who don't know, a lot of people, especially with the popularity of Brandon, do not respond to messages or requests for anything, in part because they're just too busy.
yeah, well, we need to link up because if people watching don't know, you're only probably like an hour or so north of me.
I
And you
mean,
already
an
met.
hour, like an hour and 15 minutes, but you know, I'm not who's stalking you. No.
Well, I mean, speaking of stalking and other good channels you've already mentioned, Gluck is coming to visit me this weekend, depending on when this airs. So him and Winnie are going to be joining the basement. Can't guarantee
What?
they'll.
He's oh man, I'm
Can't
jealous now.
guarantee they'll be leaving, but they'll be at least attending.
Hey, listen, make sure you count your barbells before and after to make sure you know no one got sticky hands.
That's right.
If you made it this far in the video, you and I are like Coop from Garage Gym Reviews and refusing to be interviewed. We're like Tucker Carlson and retirement. We're like President Biden and we're best friends. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Check out the links in the description. They do help support the channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and as usual, never, ever save anything for the trip back.